When you are learning a foreign language, learning the numbers is often one of the things people struggle with. Maybe not necessarily learning the basic numbers, but when it comes to using those numbers, for example, when you're talking about prices or things like that, or just big numbers, it gets much harder to think fast enough and know what the number they actually said, or to think of the number you want to be able to say. It's often something that people struggle with. So I'm going to give you the solution. This is a list of numbers, basically all the numbers, all the basic numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 100, and then you get thousands. Not every single number from zero to 1,000, but you get hundreds, then thousands, then uh, tens of thousands, because that sounds different in certain languages, and finally millions, all the way to I think 100 million. Yeah. So you are reviewing the 0 to 100 again because it's like 1 to 100 million again. So you get the translation here, and the way to learn this is very very simple. You simply have to get the audio file and you start reading while listening. And because you know the order of the numbers, you know that after one there's two and then there's three and four. When you're listening, it's going to be very easy to understand uh, which number comes next, because you know there's a logical order to them, unlike with sentences. Eventually, if you're using language islands, you will have a logical order as well, because if you know what you said, like you know a paragraph, a whole paragraph about something, you wrote a language island and you wrote 10 or 12 sentences about a specific thing, you know what you're saying after each sentence, more or less. So you learn them in groups. You can do it like that as well, but it's especially easy and useful with languages, with sorry, with numbers, because uh, there's a logical order to them, and even if you get lost and you don't understand a specific number, there's just another one coming right after, and eventually you will very quickly recognize one of them, as long as you have been uh, reading it first a couple times. And because it's very repetitive, it's the numbers for the teens and the then like tens and the thousands and the hundreds, they're very very repetitive, the patterns, so it's very easy to get a lot of reps of this. Also, it's just 300 sentences more or less, slightly more than 300 sentences. This is 10 minutes of audio. You can listen to this over and over and over again, and you can learn all the basic numbers in a day or two, in a week, if you listen to it a couple times a day. Doesn't mean that you know everything perfectly. This doesn't contain all the numbers, but then you can just combine this, right? And if you know how to say 4,000 and you know how to say 300 and you know how to say 95, then you know how to say 4,395. So it's a very very simple method to solve a problem that it is actually a problem for a lot of people. And for something that's so simple and easy to solve, it's really surprising how many people still struggle with this, and it's simply because they don't get enough exposure, enough practice with the numbers. But by reading and listening to this audio file, reading this text and listening to this audio file again for 2 3 hours of listening, you learn all the numbers very easily. You get more reviewing of the numbers by doing this than you'd get naturally with thousands of hours of comprehensible input or whatever, or living in the country. Even people living in the country still struggle with the numbers often after years because they just don't use them enough. Okay, they talk about prices here and there occasionally, like every couple of days, once, but like this is the difference between working on something deliberately and just hoping to learn by exposure. You know, like you get exposed to something a couple times a week, maybe once or twice a day, or you can get exposed to it thousands of times in a day. And if you get exposed to it thousands of times in a day, in a few days you know it perfectly. So this is the value of deliberate practice. Like really focused, targeted, deliberate practice. So you do this and you learn the numbers really well. And for any other kind of problem you've got in the language, whatever, conjugations, verb tenses, I can't talk about this or that. There's always a list that you can use to learn that specific thing. And yes, get exposed to the language. Yes, learn things naturally and all that. But if you work specifically on things at the same time, you're going to be way better at conversation and at understanding the language, right?